I want to introduce our next speaker. And I simply want to say that I probably don't understand, and neither do probably most of us understand what a priceless honor it is to have with us again the hand of the cause of God, Mr. Khadem. Please.
How much we enjoy this conference, everything, the youth, the children, future Baha'is, new race, Ya Baha'u'llah. I tell you, the youth, in all the world, the Baha'i youth are really changing the world, are moving the world. Not only in America, everywhere I went. Just a few months ago, I went to Trinidad and Tobago, to the Caribbean, and the spirit I saw there with the youth in all these nationalities was fantastic. They invited me for a quarter of an hour. I went and sat with them for an hour and a half. Tears in their eyes, their great love to serve the cause and give their lives for the cause. It touched my heart, it impressed me so much. And I thank Baha'u'llah that now he has his cause in good hands, our youth, our children, in all nationalities, all classes, all cultures. Well, that is the truth, because Baha'u'llah has predicted this. Soon will the present day order be rolled up, and a new one spread out in its stead. This is the new one, new Baha'i world order. You know, the world order, its translation is Nazm Badi. It's good if you know some of the words in Persian and in the original language. The beloved Shawqi Effendi said when he spoke to me and to the pilgrims, he used also the English words and also the Persian and the original. He said, this is new world order. Nazm Badi. Badi means new. And the beloved Shawqi Effendi says, everything in this cause of... Do you hear me? Well, the beloved Shawqi Effendi said, everything in the cause is new, is Badi. Nazm Badi, Amr Badi, Tarvim Badi, everything is new. It means new and wonderful. Nazm Badi, Hazrat Baha'u'llah, the new world order. The style of the shrine of the Bab, he said, is Badi. And then he quoted from the Quran. God said it in the Quran. Badi as-samawat wal-ard, new in the earth and heaven, because of Allah. Everything we have is new. Baha'u'llah came and he made the whole world, all things made new. And now we have this. Soon will the present day order be rolled up and a new one spread out in its stead. The whole earth is now in a state of pregnancy. And now with the formation of Universal House of Justice, that August child was born. The pregnancy, I think, finished. Now we have that body. Through the inspiration of Baha'u'llah, they take care. And they send now this message of peace to the world. And it be translated into many, many languages. I remember the time that Abdul Baha tells us, and it is in Nabil's narrative, that this greatest enemy of the cause, who was responsible for the exile of Baha'u'llah from Baghdad to Constantinople, his name, Sheikh Abdul Hussein, was one of the bitterest enemies of the cause. Every day he fabricated and spread news and some against Baha'u'llah. I wrote to the council. He instigated the council to write to the Shah of Persia, and all these things served for the exile of Baha'u'llah. He fabricated, or maybe that was true, I think it was true because Baha'u'llah confirmed it. He said that he had a dream, and in that dream he was sitting under a big mosque with a very big dome over it. And I think, well, I'm not sure of the original, whether the Shah Nasser Shah was there or not in that mosque. And he said, I looked at the dome, and I saw that around the dome, Ayatul Kursi in the Quran, which is a wonderful chapter in the Quran. The Muslims, they take it with them and they tie in their arms just in order to be safe. That Ayatul Kursi that also refers to Baha'u'llah, that God created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th he sat on the throne. It's well known with every Muslim. He said, I saw Ayatul Kursi was written around this dome. And then he said, amazing. This time it was written in English. Baha'u'llah. And when it reached to Baha'u'llah, he said that was a true dream. And he sent, I think, someone, maybe Gula Gulab, Hassani Gula Gulab, or someone, I don't know. Baha'u'llah sent him. And he said, your dream is right. It is a true dream. That was the words of God. But this time, in this new revelation, it was written in English and in all languages that man had in his dream. And now let us call him to rise from his grave and see that Ayatul Kursi is written in how many languages? Can you tell me? How many? 600? More than 600 languages in the world. And now has reached to every part of the world. Baha'u'llah, the wrong one of the world, has established his kingdom, has shown his power to the whole world. The name of Baha'u'llah became known everywhere in this world, in this planet. They heard his name. And I tell you, sometimes I thought that proclamation of the faith and the name of Baha'u'llah without explaining, how does it serve? But Abdul Baha said it serves. Just the name of Baha'u'llah. He addressed a tablet to one of the American Bahá'ís, and he said, just like whispering, or the literal translation of the word is injecting, say to the ears of men, mention the name of Baha'u'llah, the greatest name, which is the source of inspiration, animation, and power. And then Abdul Baha predicted, he said, soon you will hear the cry of Ya Baha'ul Abha, the name of Baha'u'llah, from every corner of the world, reaching to the conquerors on high. فألقى على الآذان الاسم الأعظم سوف تسمعين عن كل الأقطار زجيجا متواصلا إلى الملأ الأعلى يا بهاء الأبهاء. See, the reason sometimes I'm moved to say the original language, because the beloved Shoghi Effendi bade me. He said, in the meetings of the friends, in the conferences, you chant for the worship. So, Abdul Baha said, soon, from every corner of the world, you will hear the cry of people reaching to the conquerors on high, Ya Baha'ul Abha. And now we are witnessing all these things. I think I mentioned the last year also here that it happened in one of these countries in Arabia, very fanatic. In the television and radio, they encourage people not to spend their money to go to Switzerland or to come to America, to Europe for recreation, for vacation. They said, in our own country we have good, nice places with good climate, good fruit and everything. Go to there. And then the announcer said, do you want to know the name? The name of that place is Abha. A-B-H-A, Abha. And he was so wrapped in his talk, he was so moved. Now he wanted to express his astonishment. With the Muslims, they are amazed, they want to express their feeling. They say, Allahu Akbar, God is great. But this time when he wanted, said, this is the place, Abha, go there. And just in order to express himself, said, Allahu Abha, Allahu Abha. Allahu Abha. So that the prediction of Abdul Baha came to be true. From the most fanatical countries of the world, we hear the name of Baha'u'llah, Allahu Akbar, Allah. And all the teachings of Baha'u'llah, the world is but one country, and man is citizens. Look at the power of Baha'u'llah. One of the sheikhs in Saudi Arabia was fond of to make a trip to go on space. And he went. Coming down, they interviewed him. This was in all the papers. And when they interviewed him, he said, coming back to the earth, I looked, I didn't see any sign of separation. This world is but one country, and man is citizens. Can you imagine? These very words of Baha'u'llah said by this sheikh, and it appeared in all the papers. Now is the time for peace, unity of mankind, oneness. The beloved Shoghi Effendi says, this makes the cornerstone of the teachings of Baha'u'llah. All other principles revolve around this one. Oneness, unity of God, of the prophets, and of all mankind. Now we have this message of the House of Justice and the compilation about it. Well, of course, this message will be translated. It is like Ayatul Kursi. It is translated in so many languages. And I'm sure it will reach to the enemies of the cause. They cannot see, just at the time that they have all their problems and difficulties, they cannot see that the Baha'is are announcing peace to the world and bringing people under the shadow of Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah said it, and we heard last night singing, beautiful. Soon all the people of the world be enlisted under the banner of light of Baha'u'llah. And that was the prediction of Baha'u'llah before he was exiled to Accra from Adrianople. Everybody will be enlisted under these banners. The beloved hand of the cause, Mr. Samandari, asked Abdul Baha whether it means that everybody will become a Baha'i. Abdul Baha said yes. He repeated, he said, does it mean that there won't remain someone in the world not to be Baha'i? Abdul Baha said yes, definitely. And this is how it's going to happen. Maybe if they let us to be in the Abha kingdom, we'll see it from there, that the whole world will become Baha'i. With this message, with the compilation that you will have it, the beloved Shawki Effendi, the writings of the Guardian. What can I tell you about it? In Persian, in English, in Arabic. In English, I got in touch to a beautiful letter that he wrote, and it is in British Museum. My hope, when he was in Oxford. My hope is that, this is the translation, my translation. My hope is that I may speedily acquire the best that this country and this society have to offer, and then return to my home, which he did, and recast the truths of the faith in a new form, and thus serve the holy treasure. So that the writings of the beloved Shawki Effendi in English is to put it in new form, and are very, very significant. In Persian and Arabic, it has no parallel. We had amongst the Baha'is of Iraq a wonderful man, Haj Ahmad Hamdi, a great scholar, just like Abul Faza'il for the Sunni world. And he was very wealthy. He gave greater part of his wealth for all the haziras that the beloved Shawki Effendi purchased in Central America. A very great man. And when the tablets of the Guardian, such as God passes by in Persian, in Arabic and Persian, reached, and it was read, he just sat and cried. You couldn't stop him from crying. He said, where did he get this Arabic and Persian? And the man, before he became a Baha'i, he was a secretary of the Muslim League in all Arabia, Haj Ahmad Hamdi. This was the power of his writings in Arabic and in Persian. In the university in Persia, the Dean of University of Literature, he announced, he said, if there is one in the whole world to write good Persian, it's Shawki Effendi. So let us appreciate his writing and his guidance and those books that he wrote, his messages in English. It tells us to the general character, the implications and features of this world Commonwealth. Oh, I like it very much. This world Commonwealth. Once in the presence of the beloved Shoghi Effendi, he turned to me, he said, do you know that the Bahá'í sovereignty will be established? سلطنت بهایی تأسیس خواهد شد. Well, I wish these people in the enemies of the cause would not hear it. His words in the original language. He turned to me and said, میدانید سلطنت بهایی تأسیس خواهد شد. Bahá'í sovereignty will be established. And then he smiled and turned to me. He said, but don't say it now. I don't know whether now I can say it or not. Have it in confidence. سلطنت بهایی تأسیس خواهد شد. یا بهاءالله. The wrong gun of the world, Baha'u'llah, being in prison in Tehran, in Akka. I testify, I paraphrase it. The eyes of men of creation have not gazed upon one wronged like Baha'u'llah. And now the wrong gun of the world has established his kingdom. And his name is now said everywhere in the world. In Green Acre last 3 weeks ago, I met the pioneers who went to Farsland. The couple, they told us so many stories. And when there was war, you are familiar about it, in English and Argentina. And I had an audience with one of the lords in the house of the Lord, Lord McNair. The moment I mentioned that the Baha'is of Farsland, he turned to me and said, do you have Baha'is in Farsland too? I said, yes, my Lord, because they told me how to address my Lordship. I said, yes, my Lord, we have Baha'is everywhere in the world, in Farsland, everywhere you go. Just the name of Baha'u'llah. It opens all the doors. And I tell you, I think at this moment, I should express the thanks of the Baha'is. Well, Abdul Baha and the Guardian has expressed his appreciation through the endeavors of the Baha'is of America. You were so blessed, the American Baha'is. The beloved Shoghi Effendi told us, he said in his first and most glorious book, the commentary of the Surah of Joseph, the Bab addressed the people of the West. O people of the West, issue forth from your cities, and paraphrase, and teach my cause. He selected, he singled you out, and Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha, the beloved Shoghi Effendi, and always the lion's share was given to the Baha'is of America. You cannot appreciate your own station. Once, the beloved Shoghi Effendi quoted an old Baha'i, Haji Ali Yazdi. The beloved Shoghi Effendi said to me, he said, Haji Ali was telling us that Baha'u'llah says the cause in America will become a blaze. But I can't tell you the equal word of what Baha'u'llah said. Ma'arike. I say it in Persian. فرمودن که جمال مبارک فرمودن امر مبارک در امریکا معرکه خواهد شد. It will be more than a place. And that impressed the beloved Shogi Effendi that he quoted him. He said, this is what I heard, he said it, from Haji Ali Yazdi, that it made Baha'u'llah so happy, predicted what will happen in the West. All through the travels of Abdul Baha to this country. The seeds he planted now is growing and has reached to every part of the world. Of course, other Baha'is cooperated too. And that was my great joy in the presence of the Guardian, to hear these things about American Baha'is. And I'm so happy, the happiest one, to find myself amongst you. That the Guardian said it to me. He said, I'll send you to the West to be eyewitness of all the glories and lights, miracles of the faith in the West. You have a special assignment from Baha'u'llah. The world peace, the peace will be brought, and you will lead all nations through the writings of Baha'u'llah. This is definite. The beloved Shogi Effendi speaks of the Bahá'í Commonwealth, Bahá'í sovereignty, the whole world. Do you know what he said to me? He said, he quoted from Suratul Muluk, the surah of his address, Baha'u'llah's addresses to the kings and rulers of the world. And in that book, which I received a message from the Guardian through the pilgrims to memorize it. I was telling yesterday the youth should memorize from the writings, which I did. The whole book I memorized it. Now I have forgotten. In that wonderful book, Suratul Muluk, Baha'u'llah says, paraphrasing, he says, he addresses the kings and rulers of the world, if you do not listen to my advice in this book, soon God will come to you with his justice, and calamities will surround you from all sides. Then you will feel yourself helpless, and you be helpless to administer your affairs. فإن لن تستنسهوا بما أنسهناكم في هذا الكتاب بلسان بدء مبين يأخذكم العذاب من كل الجهات ويأتيكم الله بعدله إذن لا يقدرون أن تقوموا معه وتكونون من العاجزين. God will come to you with his justice. Today is the day of justice. What's the name of that beautiful, wonderful book the Guardian wrote? The Advent of Divine Justice. Justice is to give anyone his share. If he has done good, he'll be rewarded. If not, he'll be punished. It's different from the mercy. The beloved Shogi Effendi said, Baha'u'llah speaks of the house of justice. He didn't say house of mercy. Baytul Ad farmudan, na Baytul Fard. And then the Guardian said, it will come the time that all the leaders of mankind will be helpless to administer their affairs. And then the Guardian said, they will come to the universal house of justice for guidance. Please keep this in your mind. So they refer to the house of justice for guidance. And then the beloved Shogi Effendi said, and I will enforce any decision, anything that body, the body is infallible. That body will say. All these things will come to pass. And we will see it. I don't say, well, all of you, the youth, our children, will see these things. Starting from the lesser peace until it reaches to the Bahá'í sovereignty, Bahá'í Commonwealth. سلطنت بهائی تأسیس خواهد شد. No wonder they make all these kinds of persecution and torture in Persia. They want to stop it, but it's too late. When a child is born, you can't put the child back to the womb of the mother. To general character, the implications and features of this world Commonwealth, destined to emerge sooner or later out of the carnage, agony. We must expect all these things. And Howard, well, you know English much better. Every word, every letter, my dear friends, has significance. It's not making a sentence. Every letter has its power. Out of the carnage, agony, and havoc of this great world convulsion, I have already referred in my previous communication. Suffice it to say that the consummation will, by its very nature, be a gradual process. Gradual. We must be patient. And must, as Baha'u'llah has himself anticipated, lead at first to the establishment of that lesser peace which the nations of the earth, as yet unconscious of his revelation and yet unwittingly enforcing the general principles which he has enunciated, will themselves establish, speaking of lesser peace. This momentous and historic step involving the reconstruction of mankind as the result of the universal recognition of its oneness and wholeness will bring in its wake the spiritualization of the masses, consequent to the recognition of the character and the acknowledgement of the claims of the faith of Baha'u'llah. The essential condition to that ultimate fusion of all races, creeds, classes, and nations, which must signalize the emergence of his new world order. Then will the coming of the age of the entire human race be proclaimed and celebrated by all the peoples and nations of the earth. Then will the banner of the most great peace be hoisted. Then will the worldwide sovereignty of Baha'u'llah, the establisher of the kingdom of the Father, foretold by the Son, Jesus Christ, and anticipated by the prophets of God before him and after him. Well, this I don't understand. Before him and after him. This shows the significance of the revelation of Baha'u'llah. Be recognized, acclaimed, and firmly established. This will a world civilization be born, flourish, and perpetuate itself. A civilization with a fullness of life such as the world has never seen or can as yet conceive. The beloved Shawway Effendi in these messages, he tells us that it is impossible peace be brought to the faith without considering, without grasping the teachings of Baha'u'llah. To disregard the Bahá'í solution for world peace is to build a foundation on sand. Can we tell them? They can see it. Well, our beloved youth here, they demonstrated to us. It doesn't work. To disregard the Bahá'í solution for world peace, every day they make their plans, it doesn't work. Every minute. Just take the papers every day, the radio, television. It comes from bad to worse, every day. I like this very much. To disregard the Bahá'í solution for world peace is to build on foundations on sand. To accept and apply it is to make peace, not a mere dream or an ideal, but a living reality. This is the point which the Guardian wishes to express. Once the beloved Shoghi Effendi spoke about, many times spoke about peace, and he quoted Abdul Baha. He said that Abdul Baha, in his writings, he praised much President Wilson. And he said, he regretted. He said Americans did not appreciate it. Abdul Baha was sad. The American nation did not appreciate it. Abdul Baha has written with the program, with the plan of President Wilson, he says that the dawn of peace appeared. The dawn of peace. Just imagine. The peace given by the Prince of Peace, Baha'u'llah, but it started, according to Abdul Baha, the dawn started to shine with President Wilson. This is very historical. And the day he said it, we were a few of us in the presence of the Guardian, and he turned, he said, what do they say? What do they say in Persia about President Wilson? Well, I couldn't express myself. I turned to my friend, Mr. Rafat. I asked him, you answer. And he said, my beloved, the Persian people have not that capacity to understand these things. The Guardian said, yes, you are right. Well, the Americans could not appreciate. Here the beloved Shoghi Effendi says, we cannot fail to perceive the workings of two simultaneous processes generated as far back as the concluding years of the heroic age of our faith, each clearly defined, each distinctly separate, yet closely related and destined to culminate in the fullness of time. Didn't I say last night that the Guardian said, for everything there is a time? In a single glorious consummation, one of these processes is associated with the mission of the American Bahá'í community, the other with the destiny of the American nation. The one serves directly the interests of the administrative order of the faith of Baha'u'llah. The other process dates back to the outbreak of the First World War that threw the great Republic of the West into the vortex of the first stage of world upheaval. It received its initial impetus through the formation of President Wilson's 14 points, closely associating for the first time that republic with the fortunes of the old world. It suffered its first setback through the dissociation of that republic from the newly born League of Nations which that president had labored to create. So that the peace, the dawn of the peace, started by President Wilson right in this country. And now we are to follow American Baha'is and the rest. I mentioned to you about the resting places of the daughter of Abdul Baha'u'llah, the mother and his sister, these monuments. The raising of this edifice, the International Baha'i Archives, which will in turn herald the construction in the course of successive epochs of the formative age of the faith of several other structures which will serve as the administrative seats of such divinely appointed institutions as the guardianship, the hands of the cause, and the Universal House of Justice. Well, friends, it's good to be a Baha'i. It's good to live at this time in this planet and witnessing all the glories of this great revelation of Baha'u'llah. The beloved Shogi Effendi said that Abdul Baha, during the war, he said, he took the Baha'is to Abu Sanan and revealed the tablets of the divine plan. He always mentioned the tablets of the divine plan and told us that Abdul Baha in that tablet, he said it from memory. He said in that tablet he praised the American Baha'is and gave them assignment. Well, if I find it here, had designated them, American Baha'is, in those tablets as apostles of Baha'u'llah. Ya Baha'u'llah. Apostles of Baha'u'llah. Do you know what Abdul Baha said, addressing you? O ye apostles of Baha'u'llah, may my life be sacrificed for you. Friends, what can we do to appreciate this? Abdul Baha addressing, may my life be a sacrifice for you. The Baha'is of America. Behold the portals which Baha'u'llah hath opened before you. Consider how exalted and lofty is the station you are destined to attain. How unique the favors with which you have been endowed. Ere long you will, with your own eyes, witness how brilliantly every one of you, even as a shining star, will radiate in the firmament of your country the light of the divine guidance, and will bestow upon the people the glory of an everlasting life. Addressed to the Baha'is of America. I remember at this time Mr. Samandari, the beloved hand of the cause, when he came to this country and traveled to all places and ended his trip in Los Angeles. He was in bed, he could not speak, and Associated Press, I think, when the man went to see him, they told him he couldn't see because he was in bed. They asked him, they told him, you can speak to his son. He said, no, I want just to sit by him for a few minutes, the one whose eyes gazed upon the countenance of Baha'u'llah. So they arranged for this. A chair was put there, and Samandari, Mr. Samandari, he's in the Abha kingdom now, and he could not speak. He had a high fever. Then he started to speak with Mr. Samandari and answered his questions. The man was so impressed by Mr. Samandari, this beloved hand of the cause. And what he said to Mr. Samandari, he said, Mr. Samandari, I cannot appreciate, I cannot praise you. To me, you are like Peter to Jesus Christ. And you know what Samandari said? Samandari said, with one difference. Peter met the Son. I had the pleasure to be in the presence of the Father. Ya Baha'u'llah. And this came in all the papers in America nationwide. Peter met the Son. I had to be in the presence, I had that privilege to be in the presence of Father. What does Baha'u'llah says here? Oh, ye apostles of Baha'u'llah, apostles of the Father. I was so moved, I took the telephone. I said, Mr. Samandari, you have said something that for until next manifestation of Baha'u'llah, they write it in gold with diamond. He said, but you know, he forgot to say one thing. I said, what was it? He said, I told him, in spite of all these things, I do not deserve to lose the boot of Peter. That they did not write in the papers. They should have done it. Now, friends, O ye apostles of Baha'u'llah, what more glory than this in the writings of the beloved Abdul Baha and the beloved Guardian. Friends, our conference soon will come to an end, but you will be all remembered by Baha'u'llah. Your station, Baha'u'llah says, is more than what you think. Let us do everything in our power. We can see how this world is, everything perishes. Less than a twinkling of an eye. It was easy for Baha'u'llah to change the world in a minute, but everything has had its time. The exalted Bab tells us, should it be our wish, the Bab says, it is in our power to compel, through the agency of but one letter of our revelation, the world and all that is therein to recognize in less than the twinkling of an eye the truth of our cause. This is according to the Bab. It was, if it were the wish of the Bab and Baha'u'llah, they would have done it less than a twinkling of an eye. We don't understand the wisdom, maybe because God has given us will to man, and this is our assignment to do it. Let's go ahead, hand in hand, and do our best with all our energies, resources, and our very lives. The Baha'is of Persia, they give joyfully their lives for the faith. And through their blood, the cause has been emerged from obscurity. American Baha'is are destined not to give their life. I'm sure that if the time comes, Baha'u'llah gives courage to every one of us, of you, to do the same job. The beloved Shoghi Effendi tells us the community of the organized promoters of the faith of Baha'u'llah in the American continent, the spiritual descendants of dawn breakers of an heroic age who, Baha'is in Persia, who by their death proclaimed the birth of that faith, must, who, American Baha'is, must in turn usher in, not by their deaths, but through living sacrifice, that promised world order of Baha'u'llah. This is your destiny, to be living martyrs. Sometimes to be a living martyr is much more difficult than to give the life, because that happens once, but this continues all your life. And this is our destiny, this is your assignment, and I'm sure, please God, you may achieve it. I tell you, in my assignment that I had, traveling to many parts of the world, and to do my assignment that the beloved Shoghi Effendi gave to me, wherever I went, I could feel that power which exists in this revelation. The power that Abdul Baha said is far, far beyond our comprehension. This power. Wherever I went, any time I needed guidance, without telling him, can you believe me? Without telling him, in any country, the next day I had a cable that he bade me what to do, right to that point. And I could feel his closeness always. I can feel it now. The central figures of the faith, the Bab, Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha, the beloved Shoghi Effendi, they're always with us. And through their power, through that power, they administer their affairs and inspire us all the time. We were in a trip, in a visit to Far East, and it took us a long time coming back from Japan, and the children were waiting for us after months and months, and we received letters from them that why don't you come sooner. Finally, it happened that in Bombay, with my wife Javido, I wish if she was here. We sat and said, let us see what to do. We made our itinerary to go from there to Pakistan and then to Arabia, to all Persian Gulf, and come back to Tehran. We wrote to them. We said, according to this itinerary, you can expect us to be in Tehran, in such and such a day. Ya Baha'u'llah, I don't know how the beloved guardian was listening. We in Bombay and he in Haifa. A cable from the beloved Shoghi Effendi. And when I opened, the beloved Shoghi Effendi bade me, extend your visit. Don't make it short. Extend it. Ya Baha'u'llah. That knowledge, that inspiration, that guidance of the beloved Shoghi Effendi, who is now in the Alpha Kingdom, and I believe, is the happiest one, beholding the world order of Baha'u'llah that he labored and gave every ounce of his energy and his life to establish it, now is functioning, and it led to the message of peace on behalf of Baha'u'llah as the trustees of Baha'u'llah to the world. Friends, there's no one to tell us what to do. You look at your hearts, and if you are pleased with you, Baha'u'llah is pleased with you. Thank you very much.